Welcome everyone to another podcast of our Wellness Warriors. And today I do have a warrior with us. Her name is Kate Malvenan. And I initially heard about Kate through Tara at Hope for Cancer. I think we were hosting a retreat at Hope for Cancer in Cancun, and Tara and Marcy, Dr. Jimenez's wife, was telling us, the story about Kate from Australia and how she had this big tumor in her lungs and she was terminal, or was told she was terminal, and now she's running around and doing great. So I said, I have got to talk to this woman. So here we are. So thank you, Kate, for taking the time to be with us today.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. My absolute pleasure. Now, let me tell you a little secret, Dr. V. I have seen you at the clinic in Mexico, but I do have a bit of a celebrity crush on you. So I have seen you. I've never spoken to you. I probably run away and hide like I do with people who I just I hold you up there. I really do. So next time I see you, I promise I'll say hello formally. But it's probably me giggling in the background. Oh, there she is, Dr. V. So
that is
lovely
too
to
funny.
meet you finally and properly.
That is too funny. Well, I'm glad we finally get to meet. All right, so let's just dive right in. One of the most important things I want to get across in this podcast is when we hear stage 4 terminal cancer, so many people go into a stage of, I'm just going to give up and I'm just going to listen to what the doctors had to say. My father, who was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, was told by doctors that he had about 6 weeks to live. Well, he died like almost within the 6 weeks, right? People buy into that. It's the nocebo effect. That subconscious mind grabs that information and says, okay, I'm going to prove you right. But you chose to do things differently because you wanted to prove them wrong. So tell us about your story and how you were initially diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah, okay, so it's all, I hit the ground running. So last year I had some aches and pains in my body. I was going to the gym a lot, sometimes 5 times a week. And I went to the doctors and they said, look, it's go and see a chiro. So I did. And then I started coughing some blood and they said, it's just bronchitis. That's fine. I coughed more blood, bronchitis. It got to a point where my feet didn't work. I could hardly walk. I couldn't pick up my little girl. She's now 3. She was 2 at the time. I couldn't get to the bathroom. So I'd pee myself and I'd laugh about it with my friends and things. But, there's something very, very wrong. Eventually, in October, they gave me an X-ray and we went straight for a CT scan. And it showed that I had stage 4 lung cancer. It had bounced around my body so rapidly that the primary was lung. It was also in my liver, my lymph nodes, my hip, my spine, my ribs, my shoulders. I was told I was terminal. And I would get perhaps 6 to 12 months to live. But then they decided they were going to put me on a targeted therapy drug. And they said, with that, we're going to get you to 20, perhaps to 24 months. So solo parent, little girl, 2 years old, they might, at a push, be able to get me 2 years. That is not enough. That is not enough. So for 2 very dark days, I thought I was going to die. I believed what they said. They said, you are going to die. We can offer you palliative care. That's all we can do for you. So, I thought, okay, who's going to adopt my child? I called my friends to say, okay, can you have my child when I die? I'm going to cry now. I thought, right, I have to sell my business, sell my house, get the will in order because I'm going to die. Thank the Lord. 2 days later, I started talking to people and a couple of people said, you know what? There's a clinic in Mexico. It's called Hope for Cancer, and they do amazing things. So I spoke to 2 people, strangers to me, but they said, look, another person said there's a clinic in Mexico. It's called Hope for Cancer, and they do amazing things. With that, I was pretty much on the plane. So, I sat down with the medical practitioners here in Australia and they said, do not go. Absolutely do not. This is ridiculous. They said, go home, spend time with your daughter, drink wine before you die. Pretty much before you die, before you pass away, create some memories, drink the wine that you said you weren't going to drink because it holds sugar. And I said, I'm not going to do this, so that's ridiculous. Go and have time with your daughter. So I went like that. No way. No way. I'm allowed to do that on your podcast, Dr. B. I went like that. And I said, no, this cannot happen. This will not happen. So I removed my gloves and I went, I'm going into battle here. And so within 2 weeks, I was on a plane and I went to Cancun to Hope for Cancer. And the rest of the story is utterly magical.
All right. Well, tell us the rest of the story. What happened?
All right. Well, I was hoping you might say that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I got to Cancun, Mexico. I'd never been to Mexico before. I was quite nervous, frightened. I'd left my daughter with my parents who'd flown over from England to be with us. And I said, you take care of her, I'll take care of me. So I got on a plane. Yeah, it makes me feel very emotional talking about this, because it takes me to quite a dark place.
Of course,
to talk about where I was then. You know, I was frightened. I was feeling that, you know, I didn't know what was going to happen. So I grabbed a friend and I said, you need to come to Mexico with me. I'm buying you a flight. Can you come? And she said, yeah, I'm coming with you. We got to Mexico. You know, I could only just about walk. And I was met with open arms and smiling faces. And the moment I walked into that clinic, I knew this is where I had to be. It's called Hope for Cancer for a reason. Now, until last October, I didn't really know what hope meant. But the moment I got to that clinic, I realized, because I've been given no hope, I've been given no positivity, I've been given nothing but negativity in Australia. Now, this negativity wasn't just from an MD, not just from a doctor, it was from a radiologist, it was from an oncologist, it was from a lung specialist, said, we cannot help you. So I get to Mexico, everyone is happy and smiling and laughing, and it's just a beautiful little family in this beautiful little nest in this you know, world-class clinic. And after 4 days, my feet were working wonderfully well, and I'm up and jumping around, and my friend who came with me would be at the hotel room waiting for me in the afternoon. She said, I can't believe how well you look. She said, how are you so energized and looking good? She said, your eyes are sparkling, your skin's amazing. She said, you're just full of life. So a 3-week stint in Mexico, I came out of there. I had no cancer in my lymph nodes. The tumor in my lung was 75% smaller than when I arrived 3 weeks previously. So this is just after 3 weeks treatment. I mean, I'd heard that from, you know, they do an ultrasound and they do blood work, but I suppose I still needed validation of those results when I came back to Australia. So after 3 months, I had a CT scan and it showed exactly the same. And the doctors at the hospital said, your results are remarkable. That's all I can say. Your results are remarkable. They don't comment on anything else because maybe legally they're not allowed to. But there was a little twinkle in this doctor's eye, and she knew I was on the right path. I'm sure she did.
You would, excuse me, you would think that she would ask you, what did you do so I could help other patients? That really amazes me when clients and patients go back to their doctors and, you know, they've reversed the cancer, rather than ask them, you know, what did you do? I need to know what you're doing so I can help my other patients. They, like you, they just say, well, that's good for you. Keep doing what you're doing.
Well, I mean, that was the most positive response I got. I mean, it's gone downhill from there. I was with the hospital last week because I'd had a PET scan, which was labeled incredible, and I went in and there was nothing given. There was no well done, look at you, how's your daughter, how have you been doing? This was the head oncologist at the hospital who just gave me nothing, not a pat on the back, not a smiley face. Yet I sent those reports to Mexico, and Dr. Jimenez himself and his darling wife Marcy, they called me and they left voicemails going, wow, amazing, we've got you. Marcy had happy tears, again, which just warms my heart and makes me cry that, you know, the doctors here aren't like that. The physicians here aren't like that. The oncologists aren't like that. So no wonder I leave this country and I spend an awful lot of money going to Mexico, because they have saved my life. So I'm 10 months down the track. 90 to 95% of the cancer is gone. There's no cancer in my liver. There's no cancer in my lymph nodes. We know it's slightly peppered through my bones, but my dream and my goal and my aim and my fight is to be cancer-free within 12 months of diagnosis. So I've got 2 months to go, and my aim is to be NED. And we can't say cured, but we'll say NED, no evidence of disease. And so far, I'm doing a very, very good job.
Awesome. So tell us what kind of treatments that you did at Hope for Cancer, and what do you do when you come home? What kind of protocol are you on?
Yeah, okay. So look, I work very hard to save my life. I say I have dedicated my life to save my life. Mm-hmm. So At Hope for Cancer, there's a lot of IVs, and they're all natural. Vitamin C, B17, curcumin, Helexor. We do a lot of heat therapy. So cancer is a cold disease. It does not like heat. So let's get your body as hot as possible. So that could be full body hypothermia. It will be a sauna every day, infrared light treatment. A lot of exercise. Get in the gym, morning, noon, night. Whatever you can do to keep your body sweating is the best thing to do. So we did a lot of that. A lot of laser therapy. You probably see my watch here. This is the PDT plus laser watch. You'll know about this, Dr. V.
I have one. I don't have it on right now, but yeah.
There you go. So we take an oral sensitizer that flags the cancer in the body. We put this bad boy in. The lasers go through your veins. They get the oral sensitizer and they start punching up the cancer. That's my terms. I'm not a doctor. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Good description. Good description.
There we go. So, and then when I come home, I do everything I can at home. So I've found odd clinics here in Australia that I will go to. So I find hyperbaric oxygen at one place. I found full hot body hypothermia at another place. I get my saunas at another place. So it's a lot of running around. I take my little girl to kindy in the morning at 7:30 in the morning, and then I say, Mummy's going to work now. Mummy doesn't go to work. I've left my work to save my life. So I come home and I do an enema every day. I do a colonic once a week. I started running my own IVs because the doctors here won't give them to me. So I have a friend who's a nurse, puts a cannula in me, and then I can run IVs at home, to putting all this wonderful, good, natural nutrients into my body to help my cells repair, to help my immune system stay really strong, so my body can fight the cancer. Not only the medicines and the supplements, but my body's now fighting cancer as well.
That's awesome. Now let's talk about our belief system and how that relates to cancer. So we know with breast cancer that has a lot to do with guilt and nurturing, and we're not being nurtured, loved less, or to, relationships that are smothering. So what about lung cancer? What have you discovered concerning lung?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm sure this will resonate with a lot of people who have questions. The lungs are linked to sadness and grief. 3 years ago, I was pregnant with our daughter, my husband and I, with our daughter, and just after she was born, I discovered that he had been using drugs. He'd been using methamphetamine, and by the time I found out, it was too late. He was fully addicted. He went into rehab, out of rehab, sadly ended up living on the streets, using intravenously. We haven't seen him for 2 years. He was the absolute love of my life. And it broke my heart. And my heart has been broken again and again and again. With drug addiction comes, the lies and the theft and, just everything that goes with it, unfortunately. So my daughter's left without a daddy, and I'm left without a husband, and his parents are left without a son. There's a big gap in our life. So to me, it wasn't my body that failed me. I was 39, non-smoker, going to the gym most days. I was fit, healthy, strong. It was my mind and my emotional state. So the grief, the sadness, the depression, the loss, the anger, the resentment, the hatred that I had inside me, suddenly I have cancer. So it broke my heart, and it also tried to break my lungs as well. But so this is, a lot of the healing is to do with the emotional state. It's not always about the body, it's about the emotional state as well. Letting go of negativity, letting go of stress, letting go of all those nasty emotions, and filling yourself up like a cup. But let's fill ourselves up with love and happiness and positivity. So that's where I'm at now, and it's working very well so far, I can tell you.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, because we often discuss in our community, I tell our clients, it's not about just getting rid of the lump or the bump. It's about transforming your life, because what brought you to this situation is going to continue unless you change your lifestyle, you change your mindset, you change everything. So.
Now, if we had this conversation a year ago before I was diagnosed, I'd think you're an absolute kook. I'd go, oh, she's loopy. But now that, but I'm meeting with so many people. I mean, most people with cancer, there has been trauma at some time, whatever form that was, abuse, loss, infidelity, money, whatever it was. There's been some stress, there's been some trauma. So everything you're saying I believe 100%. So the research that you do and the books that we read and the people that we meet, I believe that. I believe that. As I say, it wasn't my body that failed me; it was my emotional state. But this is back on. We're switched on, and I'm happy and healthy.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now, tell me how you stay motivated and positive about your journey. What do you do specifically for that?
Again, you're going to make me cry. My one thing, that's my little girl. That's my little girl. She's called Annabelle Rose, and she is beautiful. She's the absolute apple of my eye. And she doesn't, sadly, she doesn't have a daddy. So more than anything in the world, she needs her mummy, and she needs her mummy fit and strong and happy and positive, and her mummy to be here for a very long time. So that's it. That's my motivation right there. She's my fighting force. I've said it before and I'll say it now. I think she was put on this world to save my life. I really do. So every day we're so close. You can tell she just makes me smile. She makes me cry with happiness and smile. That's how I stay positive. And people often say you must have dark days. Not once in stepping into that clinic at Hope for Cancer in Mexico have I had a dark day. Not even a dark hour. I have a dark day when the car doesn't start, or I've got to buy a new fridge, or Annabelle hasn't picked up her toys. But that's life. I don't have dark days regarding cancer because I know I'm going to get through this. There's nothing going to stand in my way. I know how to do it. I'm working hard to do it. You set me a goal and I'll get there 100%.
I love that. I love that attitude, because that's what it takes. It really does. I know when I was going through my second healing journey, there were some moments of, frustration and how could this happen to me again? But I felt like there was not a day that did not go by that I knew one day I was going to be telling my story about being on the other side of it, that I had done it again, that I'd been through breast cancer twice, and I would come out on the other side a much happier and healthier person, which I am. So I'm very grateful.
Right.
Do you, so are there specific things that you do as far as your emotional work? Do you journal? Are you like a spiritual person? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, I'm spiritual. I'm certainly not religious. I am spiritual. What do I do emotionally? I've had a grief counsellor for some time, since I say losing my husband to an addiction. He's somewhere in the world, I don't know where, but losing him. I do that. I try to meditate, but my mind is a little bit all over the show. I walk on the beach. I live on the Gold Coast in Australia, so that's my meditation. I walk on the beach. I ground myself. I swim in the ocean. I breathe. I have weekends away with my daughter. I met an amazing healer when I was over in Cancun just a couple of weeks ago, and he assisted me to let go of an awful lot of grief. Breathing as well, breathing techniques. It's now very popular to do these breathing techniques and breath workshops. I'm very much into that because I feel that it helps me. Everyone has their own ways of dealing with emotional stuff, and self-care, I call that. So whether it is praying or meditation or sitting in the sunshine and getting that vitamin D, everyone has their own way, but getting outside and getting into nature works for me very well.
Wonderful. Now you are involved in a reality show that was at Hope for Cancer. It's called 8 Days. Now tell us about that.
Yeah, again, it just puts a happy smile on my face. So I'm a lucky girl. I really am. I'm so fortunate that there's a TV show, reality show called 8 Days. It's going to air in the United States on the 4th of January 2020. It's called 8 Days. It was filmed over 8 days. They put us in a beautiful house in Cancun, and it followed the life of 5 cancer fighters. I don't say patients, because cancer patients are sick, and I'm certainly not sick, and I don't want to label my friends in that house as cancer patients. So cancer fighters. I was one of them. They flew me over from Australia. I think because I'm pretty loud. And I like to make people laugh. So they had to have a wonderful mix of people. We had a pastor from LA, we had a beautiful nurse from Arizona, et cetera, et cetera. So it was following the journey of us all who've been through Hope for Cancer. And 2 lovely ladies had just started the clinic, and we're following their story about their treatments, about staying in the hotel, about living in Cancun. But also it was to highlight and showcase how those of us that have been through the clinic, how we live our lives now. So it talks about cooking, it talks about grief healing, we talk about laughter, we talk about friendships, we talk about yoga, exercise. So it's focusing on, you know, alternative therapies, holistic therapies, but it also highlights this phenomenal clinic that has saved the life of thousands and thousands of people. So anything I can do to be part of that, to spread the word, to help other people heal from this disease, then I'm all in. I'm all in. So I had a wonderful, magical time, a beautiful crew, amazing people, spent time with the amazing Dr. Tony Jimenez and his darling wife Marcy. So I'm all smiles, and I can't wait to see the show because it will save lives.
Yes,
absolutely.
yes. I mean, that's going to, I hope they're prepared, the clinic, because that's going to open the floodgates, and it's I'm so excited for them because they need to be known, which is, you know, why I host quarterly retreats there with a small group of women. Bring them there every 3 months so that they can experience the clinic, they can consult with Dr. Tony and I, and they can experience some of the treatments and see what the clinic has to offer. Because like you, people are like a little leery about just going to Mexico, and is that clinic real, and what's it going to be like? And, you know, once you get there, it's first class.
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's cutting edge. So there's a little clinic back home, and a friend of mine goes there. She got diagnosed. She goes, "Why don't you go to this clinic?" I said, "Oh, babe, I've been to the best clinic in the world.
That's
you know,
right.
It is phenomenal." So yeah, I can whiz down here, but no, I get my backside to Mexico as often as I can because it's just incredible, and the world needs to know about this clinic. And that's why I loudly and proudly, you know, I'm happy to do podcasts. I do a lot of TV interviews. I had one yesterday. I'm doing one today. You know, I don't get paid for this. I don't get paid for this stuff, but I want to reach out to the world and let them know about this clinic because it is saving lives. Lives don't have to be lost by the thousands that they are. So yeah, let's point all fingers in the direction of Cancun, Mexico. It's phenomenal.
Wonderful. So one more question. Did you do the PBIS test to measure circulating cancer cells?
Yes, I did. So, I mean, standard-wise, they don't generally give that to stage 4 patients because obviously there's going to be circulating tumor. Well, I had this test done 3 weeks ago, and guess what? Completely negative. There's not a single circulating tears. There's not a single circulating tumor cell in my body. So, you know, my thanks, my love, and my faith go to that clinic. It does. So yeah.
Amazing. So for the listeners who don't know, the PBIS test is photodynamic infrared spectroscopy, and it's a laser that's inserted in the vein, and it after you've been sensitized with a non-toxic dye in through an IV, it literally can count to see if there's any circulating tumor cells, because those are the cells that are responsible for metastasis and spread. So I know I had mine done last November, and yes, it was 0. So it was
brilliant.
Last summer, yeah. So that's.
I mean, even hearing you talk about it, isn't this just innovative, groundbreaking, science-busting stuff? This is phenomenal. This is phenomenal. This is happening, and most of the world don't know about this.
Yes.
All we know is, you know, chemo and radio, and we just, there's so much stuff going on there. And Dr. Tony travels the world to find these things. You know, he's not at home with his family, you know, or you know, every week of the year, because he's out there saving lives by the tens of thousands. He's amazing.
Yeah, agreed. Well, thank you so much, Kate. It's been wonderful. I'm glad we finally got together.
Pleasure. Yeah. Okay. Well, next time I see you at the clinic, I will come and pat you on the shoulder and say hi.
So we're going to be there in November, 3rd week of November. So
right, I'm sort of channeling. I'm going to be there the first half of November, I think. So I might just miss you, but you never know. Things might change. So.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being here, and to our listeners, thank you so much for your support. Share this podcast with your friends, your family, download it, you know, talk about it, because this is the type of information that gives people hope. So if you know anybody who's on a cancer healing journey, whether it's breast or lung or, you know, prostate, whatever, stage 4 cancer does not mean it's a death sentence. So have a great evening, and this is Dr. V sending you a big healing heart hug. Bye, everybody.